Good afternoon, everyone. If it's 2 o'clock on a Wednesday, it must be time for Webinar Wednesday. I'm your host, Greg Epps, and today we've got another fantastic webinar for you. Today, I know we've spent the past couple of weeks going through various products and services. Well, today I wanted to double back to the homepage because we're going to focus today's webinar on a little thing called compliance. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, the most exciting webinar of the year. That we finally made it. It's happening. What I wanted to do today is, as you can see, I'm going to go under membership to our section called compliance rules. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through some of these rules and just cover all the things that you need to know and you need to have done just to make sure you don't get any compliance violations as you navigate through your membership here with Georgia MLS. All right, guys. Now, I know in previous webinars, we've touched on this page, this compliance rules page, which I accessed by going up to membership and going down to compliance rules. Now, I've normally just told people, read it at your leisure. It's worth everybody taking the time to sit down and read it all. But today, we're going to drill down and focus on some of the pertinent points posted on this page. Talk about an alliteration out of the blue. All right. Now, first and foremost, we want to cover what's required in regards to listings for entry. And that's going to be touched off under general listing policies here. Now, as you can see, all residential listings must be entered into the system within 2 business days. So that means if you are entering in a listing or you have signed the exclusive right to sell residential listing agreement form, once the ink is dry on that form, you have 2 business days to get that into our system. So just to reiterate, all residential listings must be entered into the system within 2 days of the listing agreement being signed. Along with that, below that, as you can see, any change to the listing must be reflected in the system within 1 business day. So that's standard procedure. If you have a change that you need to make to that listing, that should be reflected into the system within 24 hours of that change being made. Now, the number one question we get is, okay, I understand I've signed that listing agreement. Now I've got to get it into the system. How can I go about doing that? Well, I know we've covered on several other webinars that you can go in to enter a listing by simply going out. That along with going into Paragon, you also have the ability to simply click on Ditto. Now, Ditto, as we've mentioned in previous webinars, for those of you who are unaware, is a system that allows for you to propagate listing data from one MLS into another. So, if you are a dual member and you belong to, let's say, First MLS, what Ditto allows for you to do is if that listing's already in the other MLS, in this case it would be First MLS, you can go ahead and pull that listing data directly into our service. So, along with being able to go into Paragon, keep in mind you also have the ability to go in just by clicking onto Ditto. So from this page, if you notice, it says, where do you want to send the listing? So in our example here, we've got a listing that's in another MLS that we'd like to get into Georgia MLS. So what we're going to do is we're going to select Georgia MLS. Now, when I select that, it's going to take me over to the screen here where we can get started, as noted on the page. Now, right off the bat, it may be a little confusing because you notice under Listing Service it says Georgia MLS, but if you click on that drop-down, it's going to let you know that right now, or as of right now, Georgia MLS has agreements signed with First MLS, Classic MLS, Altamaha Basin MLS, and Lake Country MLS. So if you belong to any of those MLSs and you have a listing that you need to get in our service, instead of you having to reinvent the wheel and re-enter everything in through Paragon, just keep in mind, directly from the Georgia MLS homepage, you can click on Ditto, select the appropriate MLS. In this case, let's say we choose Classic MLS. You can put in the Classic MLS list number, search for it, and then pull in all of the listing information directly from that listing within Classic MLS so that it appears in Georgia MLS as a listing. So just want to show you guys that, we do understand that you do have 2 business days to get that listing into the service, but not only do you have the ability to go to Paragon, but you can also enter that listing in through Ditto if it's already in another MLS. Now, as I touched on before, just to reiterate, once again, any status change that goes on in our service as a compliance rule and policy is going to be required to be reflected within our service within 24 hours, business hours, if you will. So what that basically means is any change to the original listing agreement, the list price, or the status must be reflected in our database within 24 hours of the broker's receipt of the seller's authorization. Very simple, very straightforward. So keep these two rules in mind. If you sign that exclusive seller listing agreement, make sure you've got that residential listing, and I'm only speaking about residential listings, into our service within 2 business days. If you have a listing that has gone through a price change, a status change, or anything of that nature, it's going to have to be reflected within our database and in our system within 24 hours of the broker's receipt of that seller's authorization. Very simple, very straightforward. You got a listing, get it in 2 days. You got any changes, get it in 1. All right, let's go ahead and switch gears real quick. Now, I know we were talking about when we have to get a listing into the system, along with when we have to have those changes reflected. But we're going to switch gears, like I mentioned, and move on to coming soon and on hold statuses. Now, for those of you who are unaware, if you scroll down on this compliance page, you'll be able to get information pertaining to the coming soon under Article 4, Section 25, and Article 4, Section 26 is going to cover the on-hold status. Along with that, if you go out to our homepage, under announcements, we actually have 2 FAQs that are going to be covering both the on-hold and the coming soon status. Now, first and foremost, your coming soon status is a new status that we added this year, basically as an adjustment to meet the needs that were brought up with NAR's Clear Cooperation 8.0. Now, essentially what this does, the coming soon status allows for you to pre-market a listing. This means that the coming soon listing can be added to the service. If it's marked as coming soon, then it is going to be not exported out to any public sites and just listed as a coming soon status for 21 days. As you can see here, coming soon is only allowed for a maximum of 21 days prior to the list date on that exclusive right to sell or exclusive agents agreement. When entering in a coming soon listing, the on-market date field must be a future date greater than the date of the listing entry. Now, how this works is you'll enter in the listing, you'll put it in under the status of coming soon, and then it'll be listed as coming soon status for 21 days. On that 22nd day, it will flip to become an on-market active listing. Now, things to point out about this: after 21 days of coming soon, the listing will automatically change to a new status. The days on market will not accrue while in the coming soon status. This is a big thing to take a note of when dealing with the coming soon, and partially why I think a lot of people use it. Although a lot of people aren't using it, those that do like to use it for that reason. The coming soon status will be designated as CS, and it will only be visible by Georgia MLS members. This is important to say. This is a pre-marketing status, so it's only going to be out to members of our service. It's not going to be broadcasted out to the public. It's also worth noting the coming soon status is required to be strictly adhered to as stated by the MLS Statement 8.0 Clear Cooperation Policy. If the status is not updated within 1 business day, the broker's office will be subject to an initial fine of $25 and $5 for every business day thereafter. So basically, if you're going to put a listing on as coming soon, and it is just a pre-marketing notion, then we just need to make sure that it is only in the service and listed as coming soon for those 21 days. So that's what the coming soon status is going to be. As I mentioned before, there's a full document out there that'll break down not only the Clear Cooperation 8.0, but explaining exactly what the coming soon status does. If you have any other questions outside of that, I would recommend either giving a call to the compliance department or simply emailing them a question at compliance, COMPLINCE, @GAMLS.com. All right, guys, next up, let's go ahead and take a look at that on-hold status. Now, like I mentioned before, much like the coming soon status announcement, we also have a documentation on what that on-hold status means for you located out on the homepage. But just wanted to briefly touch on it now. As it says on the sheet here, Georgia MLS has enabled a new listing status allowing active listings to be moved into a temporary off-market status known as on-hold. Now, on-hold will be that status for 21 calendar days. This status does not terminate the listing agreement, but allows the listing to be taken off the market for conditions such as home repairs, out-of-town owners, holidays, or for reasons where the property is temporarily unavailable to be shown. For those of you who are unaware, we actually had the on-hold status come about. Now, if coming soon was a reaction to the, or not a reaction, an adjustment to the Clear Cooperation 8.0, the on-hold status is really just a reaction or an adjustment to the market conditions that are going on, especially this year with things such as COVID. Couple of quick FAQs that are going to be listed out on this page that you can always access directly over the homepage. Can the listing be changed to an on-hold status once it's initially placed on the market as a new listing? No. The listing needs to be off market when it's initially listed. The status would need to be coming soon. How does a listing get changed on to an on-hold status? Only the Georgia MLS staff can change the status to on hold. Please either email the Compliance Data Administration Department at, like I mentioned before, compliance@gambles.com, or you can give them a call. They can be located at extension 390 or option number 6 directly off of the main line, 770-493-9000. How long can listings be considered the status on hold? An on-hold status is for 28 days and 28 days only. If the listing is ready to be shown prior to 28 days, the listing agreement can be changed. You can change that listing to back on market through Paragon. How can I change the status from on hold to back on market? In order to change that status to back on market, the status will have to be modified in Paragon. There are a whole host of other questions here, but just to keep in mind, this is going to allow and alleviate some of our members from having to have those listings in the market and in the system as an active listing if there are certain circumstances that require them to be put on hold or paused. All right, so that was a quick and brief and easy introduction to the concepts of the new statuses, which are going to be on hold, which once again pauses the active status of a particular listing depending upon certain conditions, whether it's home repair, out-of-town owners, holidays, or things of that nature, for 28 calendar days. So you can pause and take that listing off market and have it on hold for 28 calendar days by simply contacting the compliance department to get that set up for your listing. Along with that, we do have coming soon, so if you would like to have some pre-marketing for that particular listing that you've got in the system, you can put that listing in as coming soon, and it will appear as a pre-marketing listing within Paragon for 21 days. All right, let's head back to our compliance sheet because now we're going to focus on PCD violations. That's projected closing date. And what I'm going to do here is just read this blurb for you really quickly just to break down what that PCD issue is. When a listing is placed under contract, so that's the status of you, or pending offer approval, which is a POA, contingent with kickout or under lease purchase, the system will require the user to select a proposed closing date or a PCD before it will save that status change. The PCD will serve as a reminder to the agent to update the listing. As the selected date approaches, Georgia MLS will automatically send reminders to update the listing. To successfully correct the PCD issue, the user must either update the status or extend the PCD, or extend that projected closing date. If the listing has not been updated properly 2 days after the projected closing date, it is subject to fines. So that's the key there, guys. When you go in and you enter in that projected closing date, just make sure that by the time that date comes, if the listing has not been updated properly, you have 2 days before fines are going to be rolled out. Now, keep in mind to successfully correct that, once again, you just need to go in and either update the status of that listing or extend that PCD out to reflect a date in the future. So just wanted to point that out there, okay? So the projected closing date, if you've met that time period and it has passed, you just need to either update the status or extend that projected closing date out. Easy peasy? All right, let's go ahead and move on. All right, next up, we've got the Georgia MLS photo policy. Now, for those of you sitting here curious if I'm going to read this entire page to you, I am not, so don't worry. You can rest assured it won't be nap time here in the next few minutes. There is a lot to read, just so we're clear. The photo policy section of the compliance page does take up about half the page. So there is a lot for you to focus on, and there are bulleted points that break down all the things that you need to do to make sure that your photos are compliant. Just making sure that we've got a primary photo associated with that listing within 10 business days. We don't have marketing on the photo and things of that nature. All of that can be read out and followed by reading the bulleted list under image requirements. There are some things to keep in mind. Now, when it comes to the primary photo, you can actually use a drone photo as long as it's an up-close view of the home. Also keep in mind collage photos. Now this is going to be a photo with a pastiche of various other photos collected into one one image can be used as long as the front of the home is within that set. So if you are using a collage, you just need to make sure that you have the front of the home or the house frontage within that collage set. Along with that, Twilight Photos can be used. This is obviously photos that are taken at dawn or dusk. You just have to make sure that they are taken as at dawn or dusk. Now, we also have a photo policy for virtually staged photos. As you can see, we have an entire section about how you can ethically and properly use virtually staged photos in your listings. Now, one thing to keep in mind when dealing with the staged photos, if you are going to have a primary photo that has a staged image in it, it can be used so long as there is a before and after within a collage showing what that image looks like without the virtual staging. So just to reiterate that, the primary photo can be virtually staged as long as the before and after is within a collage listed in those photos. All right, next up, we're going to briefly talk about withdrawals. Now, if we want to withdraw a listing, as you're all aware, this is something that you can't do yourselves, but you'll have to do or have to reach out to the MLS to do. There are two different ways that you can access this or complete this withdrawal, though. Most people don't realize this. Now, if you're trying to withdraw a listing directly off the homepage, you have two different avenues to complete this. First and foremost, if you want to do it the traditional way, you can simply go up to the toolbar at the top of the screen and click on Forms. From there, the fourth choice down is going to be Listing Withdrawal Form. And clicking on that is going to take you to a listing withdrawal form that you can hand fill out and fax into the system. Keep in mind, if you're looking to withdraw a listing, you can both withdraw and transfer from this page. The top half is going to be the withdrawal. The bottom half is going to be to transfer. If you're looking to withdraw the listing, what we need is just to fill out the general information section. Now, keep in mind, if you are withdrawing the listing, we would just need to fill out all of this top portion here. That's going to include the MLS information, property address, company name, broker code, etc. You'll fill that out, send that over to us. We will need the signature of the releasing broker, and we will go ahead and withdraw that listing for you. Now, keep in mind, if filling out form out isn't your thing and you're a futuristic kind of realtor or real estate professional, and you really want to go about doing this online, directly under quick access, especially if you're a broker or admin, you will have the ability to click on the link that says online withdrawal. Now, clicking on online withdrawal is going to take you over to the online withdrawal request screen. Now, just like you had before with the transfer withdrawal form, the online withdrawal system allows for you to go in and withdraw that listing without having to fill out a form, but doing it online. So as noted here, you can either search through your listings to find the one you want to withdraw, or as you can see here, it's going to find the records that you or listings you have in the system. And if you would like to withdraw that listing, you would simply click on the red button that says withdraw out to the right-hand side. Clicking on that is going to take you over to a withdrawal request screen where you can go in and fill out the pertinent information. It is worth noting, and I'm going to highlight this down here so everyone is aware. Upon completion, Georgia MLS will bill a $25 withdrawal fee to a broker's account. It is worth noting if you are going to withdraw a listing from the service, there is a fee of $25. It's also worth noting that if you are having to withdraw this listing because of issues that do not pertain to you, meaning the court sent something saying that the house can no longer be on the market, please contact the compliance department, send them that information, and they may be able to work with you. But generally speaking, if it's just a regular standard traditional withdrawal, there will be a $25 fee whether you do that online or whether you fill out the form. But to reiterate, if you want to do it by the homepage, all you have to do is from the homepage, select online withdrawal to take you over to the withdrawal screen. Click on the withdrawal button located out to the right-hand side of the listing you're trying to withdraw, and it will take you to the screen that you can fill out and take care of everything online. If you'd like to do it by hand, you can also go to Forms. Fourth down is going to be Listing Withdrawal Form, and from that form, you can just fill out the top half of that page, and the same rules apply. As you can see, it even mentions it here that there will be that $25 withdrawal fee, but you send that into the compliance department, and they will withdraw the listing for you. Also worth noting, on the bottom half of that that form that we had for the withdrawals, if you would like to transfer a listing, you can go ahead and fill out the bottom half of that page there. Keep in mind, we will need the information from the releasing company, meaning company name and broker code, with the broker's signature for the releasing company and the new company. Think about how you're selling a car. You're transferring that title over. If you sell it to someone, you're going to have to sign the documentation. They're going to have to sign the documentation, and then you take it over to the DMV. One thing to point out about the bottom half of this page is, if you notice, underneath the Georgia MLS agent ID, we have a little section here with a checkbox. That checkbox says accepting broker will relist referenced property with a new list number. By putting that check in the checkbox, the listing, you're going to put a check in the checkbox if the listing is going to be re-entered. If that's the case, and if it is going to be re-entered, meaning you have that check in that checkbox there, the older listing will be withdrawn so that a new listing can be put in. So just keep that in mind when you're doing the transfer. If you are going to go ahead and transfer it over and it's going to be relisted to have a new list number, then you'll go ahead and put that check in that checkbox so that it can be relisted and have the old listing withdrawn. All right, let's keep it moving because we are nearing the end here. So I wanted to point out some other things that were mentioned to me by the compliance department to bring up to you guys. Now, keep in mind, this video today is probably going to be part one of a growing, living document when it comes to compliance. So as new rules and policies come into place, or as policies come to light by our members that need to be explained or talked about a little more, we can continually create these videos. So I know whenever we have a webinar, I always point out, guys, if you're interested in learning more about some of the things that I'm talking about, to go ahead and drop me a line. Well, that's more important now than ever. So if this is something that you're interested in, or if there's some things that you would like to see a deeper dive down into and explained a little more, by all means, please go ahead and send me drop me a line and send me a message just explaining specifically what it is you'd like to see me do expand upon. I can be reached, as always, at Greg, G-R-E-G, at GAMLS.com. All right, last two things you want to cover before we get out of here today. That's right, we're closing out September 2020 with a quick and easy webinar. Just so you're aware, even if the agent is not a member of Georgia MLS, the license number associated with that agent will need to be entered when updating a listing to pending. So when you're updating that listing into pending, if you are working with a member or dealing with an agent who is not a member of Georgia MLS, we will still need to have that license information put into that status change request when you're moving it over to pending. Also, as a general rule, once a listing is updated, the violation will update within 30 minutes to show that it's been resolved within the Georgia MLS homepage. So if you go in, and in this case, notice if I go out to the homepage here, and at the top of the page, notice that I have these 5 compliance violations, which is hilarious because none of the listings that Broker Lender has are real. But if you go in and you make the changes, so if you click on See Violations and then you go through and make those changes to resolve the issue, it's not going to be instantaneous. Keep in mind, it's going to take about 30 minutes to get that to cycle through all the systems, so it's reflected back on the homepage. So wait the 30 minutes, and then if you notice something happens, then give a call, but just know there's going to be a little lead time. Also, it is worth noting, notice how all of these are PCD expired. There's a reason why I took the time to comment on and talk about the projected closing date, because that's going to make up the lion's share of the violations that are given out by the MLS. So if you can get that corrected, if you can get that straightened out, you will be good to go. I hope this was helpful for you today, guys. As I mentioned before, I always recommend, if you get that chance, I know I just touched on reading some of the things today, but directly under membership on the homepage, if you go down to compliance rules, it's going to spell out all of the rules and regulations that you need to make sure that you don't ever have to deal with the wonderful people in the compliance department. And I do love them all. Regina, you and your ladies are the best. All right, so with that being said, just to reiterate again, all residential listings must be entered into the system within 2 business days of the ink drying on that exclusive seller listing agreement. Along with that, if you go in and you make any changes, or if there are any changes to the listing, whether that be the price change, the status change, or anything along those lines, then you're going to have that's going to have to be reflected in the MLS within 24 hours of that change being made. Along with that, there are 2 new statuses that have come out this year. One, which is going to be the coming soon status, is a direct reflection of the Clear Cooperation 8.0 mandate that was handed down by NAR, and along with that, we also have the on hold status. That is a course correction to allow for you to pause the active status and the days on market counts for a particular listing and take it off market for up to 28 days in the event that there is something pre-existing going on with that, either the homeowners or the property itself, meaning that it can't be showed for that period of time. Along with that, remember your projected closing date, your PCD date. That is going to be a lion's share of violations, and we just need to make sure that you go in, and if something happens and that PCD date is met, that you either change the status of that listing or you just simply extend the projected closing date on your listing to ensure that you're not going to have a compliance violation. All right, I have thrown a lot at you guys. I hope this was all beneficial. I hope it was helpful and informative. Like I mentioned, or like I say about this time every week, I hope you go forth and sell a couple $1 million worth of homes. And you've got that email address, guys, greg@gamels.com, greg@gamls.com. If you'd like to see more information provided pertaining to compliance rules, or you just have an idea for a class that you'd like to see covered, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Drop me an email. I can tell you every time that anybody's ever sent me an email pertaining to ideas for webinars, I make it a point to make that webinar come to life. So with that being said, guys, I hope you are all staying safe out there, enjoying this early slight autumn chill. And like I said, go out, sell a couple $1 million worth of homes, and I'll see you guys here next Wednesday. Same bat time, same bat channel. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great one.